The Secret Pool by Kimberly Ridley, illustrated by Rebecca Ray. A shimmer, a twinkling. Do you have any inkling of what I am? Even if you are lucky enough to find me shining on the forest floor on an early spring day, you might mistake me for a puddle, which I most certainly am not. I'm a watery jewel called a vernal pool. I sparkle, but that's not the only reason I'm precious. Many creatures of the forest depend on me. Some come to lay their eggs, and others visit me to feed and rest. Listen, here comes my first guests. What's a vernal pool? Vernal means occurring in spring, which is when you can find vernal pools. These temporary pools can be as small as a puddle or as big as a pond. They form every year when low places in the land fill up with rain, or in colder climates with melted snow. Vernal pools are found around the world and are identified by the creatures that breed in them. In the northeastern United States and eastern Canada, these include wood frogs, spotted salamanders, and fairy shrimp. Vernal pools usually dry up in late summer, which means fish and other predators that need water year-round can't live in them. That's a good thing, because fish would eat the creatures that breed in vernal pools along with their eggs. Spring's first singers. A great way to find a vernal pool is to listen for wood frogs in very early spring. They sound like quacking ducks. Wood frogs survive the winter in an amazing way. They crawl under the leaves and freeze into frogsicles. Ice crystals form inside their bodies, but wood frogs make a special sugary chemical called glycol that keeps them from freezing solid. Their hearts stop beating and they stop breathing all winter long, but they wake up again when their bodies thaw out in the spring rains and warmer air temperatures. Soon, they hop back to vernal pools to mate and lay their eggs, often in the same pool where they were hatched. After breeding, wood frogs return to land, where they spend the summer eating spiders, beetles, earthworms, and other invertebrates. Cruck, cruck, cruck! My first spring visitors sound like ducks, but guess again. Come closer, and all you see are old brown leaves. Wait, one of the leaves is moving. Aha, it's a wood frog. The males float on my surface and call loudly, looking for mates. Their song is not sweet, but it breaks the winter's silence. Rainy spring nights are what spotted salamanders like. The wetter, the better for slithering through the forest from their underground lairs. Shiny black with yellow polka dots on their backs, they slip into my water and begin to dance. Slowly, silently, they swirl. No stars tonight, but my water whirls with tiny yellow moons. Pool party. Few people ever see spotted salamanders because they live underground, usually in the burrows of small mammals such as shrews and voles. But if you visit a vernal pool on a rainy night in early spring and bring a flashlight, you might see them. On the first rainy nights of spring, spotted salamanders come out of their hiding places to breed in the vernal pools where they were hatched. It can be a dangerous journey, because they must often crawl across busy roads to reach the pools, and there are hungry predators such as mink and raccoons. When spotted salamanders arrive at their vernal pool, they sometimes gather into a huge swarm called a congress. Salamanders may stay in vernal pools for up to 2 weeks while they're breeding, but you'll rarely see them in the daytime because they hide under dead leaves in the bottom of the pool. Shrimpy shrimp. You might think shrimp just live in the ocean, but tiny, mysterious fairy shrimp can only live in vernal pools and other temporary wetlands formed from rain or melted snow. You will be very lucky if you see fairy shrimp because they don't live in all vernal pools. They only live about 6 weeks and they are very small. The biggest fairy shrimp are only about 1 to 1.5 inches long. Fairy shrimp usually hatch in very early spring and sometimes again later in the summer. They tend to gather in sunny patches in vernal pools. Fairy shrimp eat microscopic animals called zooplankton, which can affect the color of their bodies. Fairy shrimp lay their tiny eggs on the bottom of vernal pools. These eggs must dry out completely and freeze in order to hatch the following spring. Some fairy shrimp eggs can last 15 years before hatching. Other creatures have laid their eggs in me, like dark little dots, almost too small to see. But when they hatch, kaboom! I am filled with jazzy orange fairy shrimp. Slim and frilly, they swim willy-nilly upside down, tickling me with their feathery feet. Gone are the salamanders, along with the frogs. They've returned to dry land and their mossy bogs, but what they have left behind, hundreds of slippery, slimy surprise packages. Now I'm all lumpy and bumpy with clumps of their eggs. Whose eggs are these? Both wood frogs and spotted salamanders lay their jelly-like eggs in vernal pools. How do you tell them apart? Wood frog egg masses are round and between the size of a golf ball and a softball. These lumpy egg masses look like bubbles on the water surface, and each mass can contain up to 1,000 eggs. Wood frogs usually lay their eggs clustered together in rafts in one part of the pool. Spotted salamander egg masses have a thick jelly coating, which sometimes turns green from harmless algae. These egg masses are often elongated or kidney-shaped and are usually attached to twigs floating in vernal pools. You might also see other amphibian eggs in vernal pools. Blue-spotted salamander egg masses are loose and drippy and laid either singly on dead leaves in the pool bottom or in masses of up to 10 eggs on submerged twigs. Toad eggs are laid in long, spiraling strings, and spring peeper eggs are laid singly on underwater stems. Wood frog tadpoles. Wood frog eggs are the first amphibian eggs to hatch in vernal pools. The tiny tadpoles are usually herbivorous, which means they feed on plants. If they can't find enough food, however, they'll eat each other, as well as the eggs of other amphibians. Jiggling and wriggling. Something big is happening. Wood frog tadpoles burst from their bubbly eggs. They squiggle free and eat algae and other tasty treats that grow on my leafy floor. Baby salamanders stalk their prey at night. Just like their parents, they shun the light. Tiny but ferocious, they will eat any little thing that moves, including each other. Look out. Salamander larvae. A few weeks after wood frog eggs hatch, spotted salamander eggs hatch into larvae with feathery gills that look like lacy collars or strange little headdresses. Although they are only about an inch long, they are fierce predators. They are carnivorous and hunt for aquatic insects and other small prey in vernal pools. If you shine a flashlight into a vernal pool, you can sometimes see them at or near the water's surface. You should never touch salamander larvae because they are extremely delicate. Kerplop, kerplonk. A hungry bullfrog is on the hunt. Tadpoles scatter in every direction, except the ones he catches for lunch. Pool hopping. Scientists have tracked bullfrogs and turtles traveling from pool to feast on tadpoles and eggs. Ribbon snakes and other snakes also hang out around vernal pools for easy meals. By summer, my waters wiggle with lots of creatures spouting all kinds of dandy new features. They must grow legs and lungs before it's too late. Even then, the chances they'll make it aren't always so great. Hurry up. A race against time. Most vernal pools dry up in late summer, which means that wood frog tadpoles and salamander larvae must grow into juveniles able to survive on land. During this growth process, which is called metamorphosis, tiny froglets grow legs and absorb their swimming tails, and salamander larvae lose their feathery gills and develop lungs which allow them to breathe air. Sometimes tadpoles and salamander larvae become trapped in shrinking vernal pools before they go through metamorphosis, and they end up providing easy meals for many forest creatures. Other times they die when the pools dry up, their bodies returning to the earth and providing nourishment for future plant and animal life. Snack bars and rest stops. It's not just bullfrogs and snakes who feast in vernal pools. Migratory ducks and shorebirds, such as great blue herons, arrive in spring to eat frogs and salamanders and their eggs and tadpoles. Vernal pools are among the first wetlands to melt in spring, providing the first green leaves and sprouts for moose and deer to eat. Even in late summer, when many vernal pools have shrunk to mud holes, creatures rely on these places for shelter, moisture, and food. Some pools will refill with fall rains and provide wintering habitat for turtles such as spotted turtles. There are still plenty of tasty insects to eat, as well as wood frog tadpoles and salamander larvae that may have become trapped as the pool evaporated. My work this year is nearly done, and I'm disappearing with the summer sun. I'm shrinking and sinking into the earth, but I still feed hungry creatures lurking around. A whisper of wet is all that I am, a small, muddy patch on the frosty land. Trees drop their leaves and cover me up. You might think I've disappeared, but don't worry, I'm just getting ready for next year. Migration isn't just for the birds. Although they don't travel as far as the birds, wood frogs and spotted salamanders migrate too. In spring, adult amphibians migrate to their vernal pools to breed, and then they migrate to other habitats to feed and rest for the summer. Later on, young wood frogs and salamanders migrate from the vernal pools where they were hatched to find habitat on land for the rest of the summer, fall, and winter. Some young wood frogs travel more than half a mile, and that's a lot of hopping. I've shown you my secrets, and now I must go. It's time to make more life from leaves, rain, and snow. Ingredients of life: leaves and water. Vernal pools are places of transformation. In autumn, a new layer of fallen leaves covers the bottom of vernal pools, which gradually fill back up again with rain and snow. Fungi and microorganisms break the leaves down into nutrients other creatures can eat. Many kinds of insects arrive to breed in the pool and eat algae that grows on the leaves in the bottom. By the time fairy shrimp, wood frogs, and salamander eggs hatch the next spring, there are all kinds of delicious things in the pools for them to eat. Soon, what was once dead leaves will become new frogs, salamanders, and insects, all of whom could become dinner for someone else. I'm sorry, excuse me. Okay, guys, these are fun facts about wood frogs and salamanders and fairy shrimp, and I think it would be a great idea for you to read them.